like Marvel and Star Wars, and those became part of my portfolio or my reel. And because my reel was available on TikTok, anybody could look at TikTok and see my work as a director, writer, cinematographer, editor, and actor. So that allowed me to make ads that look like this for companies like Microsoft, Dell, Disney, and Netflix, just to name a few. Now, I call myself a content creator instead of an influencer because unlike other social media personalities that are hired to make ads because of their influencing, I'm hired for my skill in a certain field, which is cinematography and visual effects. I'm in a slightly different category than, say, the Alex Earls of TikTok. I'm more of a performer in a small production house, so I'm hired for that rather than for my personality. Now, if you know me, you know that the last thing I ever expected to do for a living was to be on camera or to even be up here. I'm kind of sweating as I'm standing up here because I'm very much not used to this. I have always been the type of person who would rather put myself behind the scenes because I'm perpetually nervous. I never thought I would be public speaking or even having a job that involved starting my own company and being on camera. So the question becomes, how on earth did I end up in this position? Believe it or not, I didn't go to school for this. I never thought I would be lucky enough to have a career in entertainment. And a career in production didn't even become a viable option for me until 2 years ago. I was originally supposed to go to medical school. This is a picture of the last time I did a presentation, which was about 6 years ago, and it was a presentation on atrial fibrillation and in-hospitalization of patients, so a very, very different topic. Now, my parents are refugees, which means they had a very intense approach to encouraging me to choose a future career. I was the eldest child, which obviously doesn't help, so the only jobs that were considered options for me were jobs that, say, had the most security, jobs that would be indispensable in some crisis my parents have never experienced, like a civil war between North and South Vietnam. So as long as I can remember, they wanted me to be a doctor, and I wanted to be a doctor too. My first toy was actually my dad's old stethoscope, so that really shows you that I was prepared for the medical field from the second that I exited the womb. For 22 years, I followed a carefully laid plan. I went to college. I went to cadaver labs to study anatomy, and I studied the public health system. I worked as an EMT, I did research at hospitals, and I published papers, and I majored in molecular and environmental biology. But my secret dream was always to work in the entertainment industry and to be the kind of person who could be comfortable being in front of and behind the camera. The irony is that all the extracurriculars that my parents put me in to prepare me for college actually made me fall in love with art. Extracurriculars like piano, martial arts, and creative writing classes. When I watched movies, I could feel the musicality of the editing. I could feel the subtle punctuation marks in fight scenes and the way body language can say so much when words can't. And above all, what I loved most was seeing other people's stories. What I also loved, and honestly what I missed about medicine, was the opportunity to tell stories by synthesizing a patient's medical history into a story that tells you who they are, what they've been through, and what they need. Stories, whether fiction or nonfiction, can inspire emotion and action in us and make us empathize with complete strangers. So between MCAT studying and medical research, I worked part-time as a freelance photographer, videographer, and a ghostwriter. After college, I was fully committed to going to medical school. I got a job as a healthcare consultant and started my medical school apps. And while working a 9 to 5 and writing my medical school essays, I just couldn't let the idea of working in entertainment go. So I started screenwriting. I wrote a screenplay called Miss Saigon, and on a whim, I entered it into the Academy's 2020 Nichols Fellowship, which is a screenwriting contest, and I scored in the top 15% of submitted screenplays. And I thought this would be the furthest I would ever delve into the entertainment industry. But in January of 2021, the perfect constellation of events inspired me to post my first ever TikTok. I lost my job because of the pandemic, and I actually did end up getting into medical school. I finally achieved the one thing I had been working towards for my entire life, the thing that got me going through all-nighters and OChem exams. and this weight lifted off my shoulders. The path to becoming a doctor was suddenly so much more straightforward. All you have to do is get through medical school, get through residency, and that's it. You're a doctor. Now this acceptance happened pretty early in the application cycle, which was 6 months before I had to move across the country and start medical school at Vermont. That meant I had 6 months left of freedom. 6 months where the first time since I was about 13, I was thinking about something other than getting into medical school. So I decided to take up one of my high school hobbies, which is learning VFX and making videos. This is a clip from the first short film I ever did in high school where I was the director, writer, cinematographer, and editor. This is the first VFX I ever did. Now in 2021, I hadn't told anybody about this secret dream. As far as my parents and my partner knew, my dreams of working in film had ended with this video. I wanted to share it with them, but I felt so embarrassed. I was afraid of being shot down. Why would I want to work in an extremely volatile and honestly often nepotistic industry when I was already on the way to becoming a doctor? Then I discovered TikTok. Now before TikTok, I was what one might describe a lurker on social media. I hated posting, and I honestly still do, which my management hates. And I only use social media to keep up with friends. And most of my friends were on the Gen Z millennial cusp, which meant that they hadn't yet discovered TikTok. But I was unemployed, and I was having an existential crisis, which meant that I was scrolling on TikTok every single day. I started a brand new account in a space where nobody knew me. Now, there were no expectations of who I was. Nobody knew me on this social platform. I had no carefully curated social persona to keep up. So that meant for 6 months, in this small, minuscule corner of my life, I had the opportunity to be someone who I never thought I could be someone who could post whatever they wanted and not worry about what people would say about my unrealistic and impractical dreams. So instead of sucking it up and sharing my entertainment dreams with anybody in real life, I decided to post videos on the internet for anybody to see, which made sense at the time. And this is my first ever TikTok. Now, if you're familiar with the vast universe of Star Wars, you'll know a character called Sabine Wren, and she wields an energy weapon called a darksaber. This was before the Mandalorian TV show, which meant that this character had not yet appeared in live action, and I just wanted to see what it would look like if this character was in live action. So I decided to recreate this video, and I dusted off my VFX skills and started relearning After Effects. Now, I wanted this video to be as realistic as possible, so I used practical lighting to achieve VFX. This is a video of me with a wooden sword that I had taped LED lights to and cardboard gauntlets that I had made to house the batteries for the LED lights. I do not recommend it. Do not do this. It's so dangerous. The gauntlets almost melted off my arms. But initially, this video actually only got around 5,000 views. Because no matter how cool it was, at the end of the day, I'm just a random person swinging a sword on TikTok. But one person, literally one commenter, asked how I did it. So I decided to do behind the scenes videos. And I made a video of how I created these props, as well as a video of how I made the darksaber in After Effects. This is just a quick time lapse of all the layers it takes to make the darksaber. Now that was what caught people's attention and the algorithm's attention. These behind the scenes videos didn't necessarily get much traction, but people were interested in what I had actually made. So they clicked on the original video, and it ended up boosting the views on my original video at the time to over 100,000. And that was my first ever series of videos. I think at the time I'd only ever posted 5. And for these series of videos alone, I gained around 10,000 followers. So in my first few videos, I had already found a fellow community of VFX enthusiasts and nerds. And the great thing was, nobody really cared who I was or what my credentials were. They just liked my work. So all of that encouragement kept me learning and posting. To me, TikTok felt safe. I had no following, there were no preconceived expectations of who I was, and I could do anything within reason, free of judgment. In TikTok, I can scream into the void, because the void doesn't scream back and DM you randomly and say, "Oh my God, I haven't seen you since high school, so you're into cosplay now?" That's pretty cool. I wish it was a fake DM. This is the first viral video I ever made, and if you have already seen it, I'm sorry.
It's a woman's world, so to speak. Pussy you sour. Let it give it credit where it's due, cause you don't lack pussy in power. Let it
do whatever we want.
Sorry. Watching my own videos makes me sweat. Believe it or not, that video was filmed entirely on impulse. In fact, watching it right now, I can see exactly the points where I was too lazy to finish the tracking because I was like, nobody's ever gonna see this. I was actually in New York when I posted it. I had just gone to the Comedy Cellar and my friends had convinced me to post this video. It was like midnight, so I posted it, went to bed, and didn't give it a second thought. And when I woke up the next morning, the only reason I remember posting it was because it had already gotten over 1 million views. And right now, I think it has almost 50 million views. And this video made me go from 20,000 followers to around 100,000 followers. Now, this video was incredibly educational. It was the first video that taught me the anatomy of a trend and the psychology of viewers. I actually posted it more than a few weeks after the original trend cycle had passed, which is why I almost didn't post it. I thought nobody would see it and nobody would care. But it ended up not mattering because why does a trend die? A trend dies when it's not fun anymore for the viewer and the participant. Viewers do go on TikTok for distraction, but they're constantly watching people hop on trends with no appreciation for the topic or real understanding of why it became viral in the first place. So the distraction quickly becomes trite. We can see this happen in real time when companies on TikTok try to use trends to advertise without, again, understanding why people enjoyed the trend or why it was engaging in the first place. You'll see comments like, the joke is over, or you all ruined it. Everybody, the trend's over, we gotta get out of here. And that's because audiences connect with media and stories, no matter how small or self-contained they are, in 15-second videos because of the human viewpoint. The business decision to take advantage of the algorithm, it does nothing for us. So things like AI-generated remixes of somebody else's ideas, viewers can sniff that out pretty quickly. Viewers are exposed to media at increasingly younger ages, so they can spot insincerity with honestly a pretty alarming speed. I think a good example of this is the Duolingo owl, and I know a lot of people have talked about this, but one of the reasons why the Duolingo owl was so engaging and so interesting was because we knew there was a human behind it. Sometimes we like to be a little confused. We like to feel things. Sometimes we like to watch videos and think, oh my God, what sadistic social media manager is making a poor person in the owl costume do that thing? Or is this person in the owl costume really terrorizing the entire company? It's interesting. So in my case, I was able to tap into this trending sound because I was adding something of value. I had an enthusiasm in making and participating in the trend, and I was the first VFX artist on TikTok to use CGI to make a new spin on this trend. And it actually ended up reviving the trend. A bunch of people used VFX to give the trend new life, and it ended up